Thanks, Bill. Today, for our program, we have David Griffith. He's going to talk about guns and competitions and a gun club that he does belong to. I think it's really fascinating. One of the things he was telling me about, I know the picture's not up there now, but of the rifle, what do you call it, the rifle?
Right, that's it.
Anyway, they shoot at a target 2 miles away that's half the size of your table, and he hits it. So I think that's amazing. So please help me welcome David Griffith.
Thank you, Donna. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to y'all. This is kind of something I do for fun. One of the things I found is people do not like to sit and listen to stale presentations, so I always bring demonstrative aids. So if y'all want to pass these around, these are some of the bullets that we use. Y'all can pass these around and look at them. One of the other things, I started shooting 50 caliber rifles several years ago. I shoot competition rifles with smaller rifles, and I know that some of y'all are familiar with them, some of you may not. We'll try not to make this too dull, but when we go to the SHOT Show or any shoots where we have people that are unfamiliar with these rifles, they ask 3 questions. How much did they cost? We tell them a lot. How much do they weigh? We tell them a lot. And how much do they kick? And it's not as much as you think. So, Michael, would you come back here and help me for just a second?
Are you going to be the target?
That'd be too easy shooting at him.
Take off running, Michael. We'll give you about 30 minutes lead. That'll get you a mile down the road.
I'm just going to ask Michael to kind of help me hold this up, and it's got a... It's got a chamber flag in it, so it's completely safe, bolt's not in it, but this is an example of what we're going to be using, what you're going to be seeing on the film. This is actually not a 50 cal, it's a .416 Barrett. It's just a little more efficient in the long range stuff, but it's a derivation of a 50 cal. Thanks, Michael. And y'all are free to come up here and look at it. One of the other things in the 50 cal world, we have developed a lot of new stuff. These are actually plastic shells. One of our members works for a group that does a lot of military work. And so these are actually plastic. I'm going to leave these up here. Feel free to take one to the kids. You know, kids enjoy that kind of stuff. So it might be a souvenir for anybody who wants to look at them.
They're all kids.
You're all kids, huh? Big kids.
David, you don't reuse any part of it then?
You don't reuse this was designed to take the brass off. They'll recycle the brass, and the plastics just can be recycled as plastic, but the brass itself is just recycled brass. Now the full case, like is in that other package, is reloaded regularly. Now, in that box, there's some of the bullets that we use, and they're solid copper machine bullets. That's what a lot of us are shooting now. They're much more efficient. They're much more dimensionally precise. So anyway, but the 50 cal was developed back in 1921 by John Browning. I'm sure y'all have always all heard of John Browning. And it's basically a scaled up 30-06. It's just dimensionally bigger from 30 caliber, which is 30 thousandths of an inch, up to 50 caliber. But he originally developed it as a anti-aircraft weapon. Now, the same weapon is being used in, you've seen the snipers over in Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan. They were originally designed for like tracked vehicles, anti-vehicle weapons. Now they're using them for personnel in long-range shots. It's not quite fair, but they're still doing it. We shoot matches with the 50 cal at 600 and 1,000 yards. And you'll see one of the guys on here that's my spotter. He went to a match last weekend and shot a 2 and 5/16 inch group at 1,000 yards. So they're fairly precise rifles. He's an extremely good shot, capable of good accuracy. That's why they're used with such efficiency and efficacy in Afghanistan, places like that. The club that I'm a member of, and I was president, is called the 50 Caliber Shooters Association, and we are a worldwide organization. We've got branches in the United Kingdom, Sweden, Norway, France, Australia, and South America now. We've affiliated, and we had a match 2 months ago in France. We're going to have another one like this in South America in November. We are having a lot of problem. We had one scheduled in Australia, and the Australian government has pretty much shut us down. So you folks that are gun advocates here, if you get the chance to politically push for gun control, fight the gun control all you can, because they will take every gun that they can away from you. You know, they start small. They start with saying, we just want to ban this or that, and they end up in Australia. A 22 semi-automatic is now, unless you have a permit and belong to a gun club. So I'm a big advocate that you don't give the government an inch, because they'll take all they can. Now, having said that, politically, what we've moved into now and what this picture is a new discipline. It's called ELR. It's called Extended Long Range. And the definition of extended long range from our standpoint is we start at 1,500 yards. And when you get out that far, I don't know, some of you I'm sure are shooters, a lot of you are not, and I'll try not to bore you with details, but when you get out that far, the wind makes a terrific effect on all your shooting. Gravity takes over. If you'll remember your basic physics, if I push a ball off this and it falls, and I shoot a bullet flat, that bullet's going to travel 2,000 yards if they'll both hit at the same time. Gravity is acting on that bullet the same way it does a ball that's pushed off the table. So you've got to calculate that in. If you're shooting north and south, the earth is rotating under that bullet, so you have to account for that. It's something that it's called the Coriolis effect, and if you're shooting directly north and south, that bullet doesn't travel with the earth, it just stops. So all of these things have to be calculated in. And the King of 2 Miles is a match that started in Raton, New Mexico. We shoot up there at the NRA Whittington Center. That's about 200,000 acres of property that the NRA has developed. It's kind of the shooting mecca. You can go up there and shoot anything you want to at just about any distance. But we shoot into these mountains, and I'll pull up a few of these pictures first. We've got a video that unfortunately I don't think the sound is going to play on it. But one of the matches we shoot is a 50 caliber match, and we were having a little technical difficulties, and despite Pete's best effort, I think we're about to get it fixed.
I don't know.
Yeah, while you're working on that, we ask a question or two, I guess.
Sure, absolutely.
You shoot a 50 cal long range, ELD, whatever it is, but do you have any guys around here that you know of that do like F-class target shooting?
Yes, sir. There's an F-class competition in Shreveport, and there's an F-class competition down at Carthage. For those of you who don't know what Lewis is asking, it's a shorter range competition. It's from 3, 6, and 500 yards. And in Shreveport, they actually shoot 1,000 yards. And there are a couple of clubs, but yes, in Carthage and Shreveport, they shoot F-class. This is the Raton match where we shoot, or that's the range where we shoot. And go next. This is, my son is shooting my Barrett, and I'm spotting for him, and that's an extremely important part. You know, the shooter is just the monkey behind the trigger sometimes, but the spotter has to be able to call the wind, see where the bullet hit, where the impact is, and then tell the shooter, you need to move 2 feet right, 1 foot up, or we do it in what's called mills, which is a measurement of shooting. But anyway, that's my son. He won the, he won the 600-yard match last year for his first time shooting, so he's a good shooter. Okay, there he is again. Hey, that's Ben shooting off, that's the 500, that's the 50 cal. He's shooting in the light class there. But as you can see, I enjoy going up there because of the scenery and the mountains. We really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see where we're at, Pete.
Well, I don't know where we are either.
Okay. Doesn't want to go further. Okay, well, let's go back to the main screen.
Or we just did these 4 across here then.
Okay. Now, on the ELR stuff, this is the, there we go. This is the setup for the first day of the qualifying competition. As you can see, what we have is the first shot is called the cold bore shot, and that's at 1,572 yards. Target 1 is at 1,692. Target 2, 1891, as you can see, then 2097 and 2375. So you have to progressively hit these as you go. And this may be from last year rather than the year I'm going to show you on the video. But under this format, you have a 2-day match. If you qualify after the first day, then you can go to the finals. And the interesting thing about this, from our standpoint, these are some of the best rifle shooters in the world. Now, a lot of us get in because of the fact we're officers in the club, and so we're in anyway, but ordinarily, these are some of the best, right? We have world champions, we have people that come in, they're sponsored shooters by the large gun manufacturer. We started with 40 shooters the first year. We had 250 applications this year, and we took 80 shooters, so it's become quite a big event, probably $50,000 to $75,000 worth of prizes when you count the scopes and that sort of thing given away. But let's go ahead and go to the video. The Outdoor Channel came in and filmed us in 2017 and had a series called The King of 2 Miles. And the reason it's called, because nobody had ever really done this kind of thing before as far as making it a competition. So, hey, let's back up just a little bit. Yes, sir. Right there. Okay. Let's just start it right there. I wish we had the sound, but anyway, I'll try to narrate as best I can.
Can we say boom something?
Yeah, that'd be good. That's Charlton Heston, Mr. President. Okay, as it shows here, the qualifying is target 1, 5 shots. You've got to hit a target. If you miss any target, then you're done. So we have people that come out, shoot 5 shots at target 1. They've been practicing all year, and they get to go home.
Oh, man.
You know, that's a little frustrating, but here's the format for this year's. That target's 24 by 37, the size of a TV, roughly. Target 2 at a mile, and that's what it looks like when you're at the firing line looking through a scope.
Wow.
And as you can see, they're set up in the mountains, so we've got a pretty good backstop. I don't think we've had anybody sail it over the mountain yet. This guy, Chris Schmidt from Tennessee, he's one of the better shooters that we have. But I'm going to skip forward a little bit here. The guy right here on the right that you're looking at is a guy named Brian Litz. Brian Litz is probably the smartest person that I've ever met. He is an aeronautical engineer, was in the military, and he owns Applied Ballistics, which calculates ballistics programs. And these ballistics programs are just pages and pages of math that we use But anyway, he is world famous for his ballistic program. I beat him 2 out of the 3 years that I shot with him. And that's not a function of me being that good. It's just a question of him having bad luck and issues and weather. So it's not a game where the best ones win every time. There's a lot of luck and a lot of skill involved, but you've got to just get good wind conditions and favorable conditions. Now, I'm going to move forward here.
David, I got a question for you.
Sure.
On that 5-shot 333,
Right.
because I seen him rapid through there pretty quick. Is it timed also?
You have a 10-minute time limit to shoot all your targets. So the only thing is, if you get a wind condition that you're familiar with, like a right to left wind that's steady and your first shot hits, you want to get shots 2, 3, 4, and 5 as quick as possible before it changes. Because I've shot on a match before where I'll shoot a wind condition from the right to left, the wind will change and throw me 10 to 15 feet off to the right or left. So you want to shoot them as quick as you can. Now this is the segment where I was about to shoot. The guy up above me there is Barry Hamilton. He's my spotter, and he's the one that I said shot the 2 in a half-inch group. Now, as you can see, I've got my mouth open, which a lot of folks that know me say that's not unusual. You need to put your head firmly against the rifle, and because of the fact that I didn't have a good cheek rest, that was the only way I could actually get up and maintain a steady position, was holding my jaw open like that. It's not a good way to shoot, but it works. And the reason I've got my hat around backwards is because if that scope hits that hat, it can actually change the way that gun recoils and change the point of impact. So all these little things calculate in.
Another question.
Okay?
At 2,000 yards, what's the velocity on one of those 50 caliber shells?
(1967.9 feet per second).
So it's still moving.
But that's down from about 3,000, Rusty. It starts about
It's still
3,000.
moving at that
It is.
distance, so.
It is.
Hey, do you run your own manual?
I do.
What powder do you like?
I use a couple different powders. They're real slow powders. They're called, I use Vitamori 20N29 and then some called Reloaded 50. Because that was, I missed my first shot. I hit shot number 2. This guy that's spotting for us there in the back is named Robert Brantley. He's a professional shooter from Manners Stock Company. He's actually won it last year and came in second this year, which is phenomenal. Like I say, it's a little better with sound, but you can go to YouTube and look at it if anybody has an interest. I ended up with 4 out of the 5 on target 1, which allowed me to move to target 2. And what you do is you adjust from target 1 to target 2 based on these ballistic calculations. It'll tell you how many clicks, how much to move your scope. And the interesting thing about it is it's all based on mathematics. And Pete, being an engineer, will tell you that you know, you calculate this stuff and you work it out and you get it down, and for some reason it just doesn't work sometimes. You know, and no reason that it shouldn't, but occasionally there's absolutely no explanation. Last year, I came in, if it hadn't have been dead last, the only reason was because G was in front of an S. There was another guy, his name started with S, or I'd have been ranked below him. Didn't hit a shot. Come to find out I had a loose scope base, which completely threw everything off. So there's not only a component of skill and luck, but you've also got your preparation, and apparently I wasn't doing something right. This is target 2, and I missed the first one badly. And as you can see, the wind has picked up just a little bit.
But isn't luck involved greatly?
Absolutely.
In the first shot?
In the first shot, absolutely. You have to, the first shot, you have to look and see where the wind's going, what the wind's doing, what the, you know, one of the things that, okay, I actually hit the third shot, which allowed me to move on to the third target. One of the things that you watch, we don't have wind flags out here. It's not like a rifle range where there's actual wind flags that you can judge. So what you do is you see the people throwing grass up in the air, licking your finger. You look at buzzards flying. If a buzzard's flying, all of a sudden he stops and goes the other way, you know the wind has shifted. Little things like that you look at.
Wow.
It's,
You got a good shot of that pad you can use on your jaws.
oh yeah. Okay, I actually hit, the quicker you hit a target, the more points you get. So if you hit on the first or second shot, you get more points than having to wait. So target 3 wasn't great from what I remember. Yeah, one hit.
But if you hit the first shot on that target, you go ahead and shoot your other 2 bullets anyway on that same target?
Yes.
4 points?
Yes.
Okay.
You got 5, 3, 3, and 3. So you go ahead and shoot all of your bullets on that target. And this was number 4 at 1,990 yards. And I was kind of proud of this when I hit it with the first shot.
And then you got 2 more shots.
And you would think if you hit 2, you ought to be able to hit the third one, but for some reason number 3 was off in the stratosphere, as you can see right there. Now, this was good enough to put me in the finals, which was the top 10. I was in the top 10 for 2 years there. 2 years. 1 year, like I said, last year, I just absolutely flamed out, came in dead last, except for the alphabetizing of the losers. Other than that, you know, if my name would have been started with an A, I'd have been better off if it had been Young or something like that. I'd have been right at the bottom. So, and then this year, about in the middle, you know, but the thing about it is that some of you folks may be familiar with some of these names, some of you may not, but out of the first 15 people this year, there were 2 non-professional shooters. Everybody else was a professional shooter. So it's a lot of fun to do. It's challenging. There's nothing easy about it, but we do have a lot of fun with it. One of the things that I really enjoy, though, is the scenery and the folks that I get to meet. We've got people we have 15 people that came over from England, the United Kingdom this year. We have shooters from Australia, from France, and we have about 100 to 120 shooters at our annual World Championships is what we call it this year. That's held over the 4th of July at the Whittington Center every year. And it's, as you can imagine, it's a lot of personalities. We have a good time. There's a lot of cooking and carrying on, and we just really enjoy it. And one of the interesting things is when I first started shooting my first match was at Waco. And I showed up green as a gourd, didn't have the right equipment, didn't have the right ammunition, but I showed up ready to shoot and had a good time. Was very welcome. It was a very welcoming group. And the next time we formed a club and we shoot in Shreveport. And one of our best shooters at the time was a 12-year-old girl. And she weighed about 90 pounds. And every time she'd shoot, she only shoots prone off the ground. Every time she'd shoot, the gun would slide her back about 3 inches. She'd push the gun back up, crawl back up there. And except for the fact that she had just a little bit of equipment malfunction, I think it was 2014, she would have won the entire match. Unfortunately, as I said, she had a little bit of equipment issues. Very good shooter, very good kid. She's now graduating in college, but she's still one of our top shooters. We have several women that are among our top shooters. So it's something that the whole family, it's a family atmosphere. We don't tolerate acting out too much, you know. How many of you folks play golf? Okay, we got a few golfers in here. You all know the guy that throws his club and throws a fit, and that sort of stuff. We've got those personalities. We've got the other ones that just show up, shoot, and go home, don't interact. But for the most part, it's a big family, and we really enjoy doing it. You know, if you're interested, I'd advise, or okay, you can go on YouTube. The entire series is on there. Watch it with sound. It's got much more information than I'm giving you in this because it was very well narrated, and I will answer any questions that y'all have at this time. Yes, ma'am.
Can you just go as a visitor to the Whittington Center?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What was the question?
Question was, can you go to the Whittington Center as a visitor?
Yeah.
And
And can you just shoot a gun there if you go?
if you go, you know, if you have a gun, you can just shoot. I think they charge a $20 range fee for non-members, but the membership's $50 a year, so it goes to support it. But if you show up and if you contact Consumer Affairs ahead of time, I'm sure they'd make arrangements for you to shoot if you wanted to. It's out in Raton, New Mexico. It's about 11, 12-hour drive. It's about 14 if my wife goes with me. And so, yes, sir.
I mentioned too, the Whittington Center, if you've got the time and really like northern New Mexico and Colorado mountains, if you've got an RV, if you will volunteer to work 20 hours a week out there, they need maintenance people and whatnot, they will provide you with an RV spot.
Yeah.
Full hookups, and you know, and it's a beautiful place.
It is. It's about 20 minutes south of Trinidad, Colorado, up in the mountains, north of Taos, and about an hour to Taos, and some other places. A wonderful place to visit, especially if you're a shooter, because they shoot everything from shotguns, rifles, 22s. As I said, mainly we go out there and do this, but when we stay a week, and we're only shooting in the mornings at our match, then we got the rest of the afternoon to cook and go shoot guns. So that's what we enjoy doing.
What's the basic investment for a Barrett in the scope?
Well, there's about 4 or 5 different Barretts, but you can spend, you're going to spend $3,500 to $5,000 depending on the gun. If you buy one used with a decent scope, you can get in it for $4,000, $3,500 to $4,000.
And what are the bullets? How much are the bullets?
Anywhere commercially from about $1.50 a round up to about $6 a round, depending on whether you're shooting match grade. I reload all of my stuff now for about $2, $2.25 a round. So, but I'm actually sponsored by Cutting Edge Bullet Company. That's the bullets that are in that. So I don't pay retail price. They can't afford to give them to me, but I don't pay retail price. So it cuts the cost down a little bit.
How long does it take to build one?
Yeah, about, I'll make 100 rounds in a couple days, you know, in the evenings. And the gunpowder in there, just a fact, and Carol, I know you're ready to quit, but
No, I'm not roasting you. Go ahead.
the gunpowder equivalent in one of these is equivalent to what a hand grenade has in it. So it's got quite a bit of powder, it's just a little bit different type. So I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to y'all. I appreciate the opportunity to spread the word. Thank you.